Good morning.
Time to get ready for your day with the morning warm-up with Trey Lyle. Join us live on VTRN Sports 93.3 FM or the VTRN Sports app. Open VTRN Sports on your smart speaker or stream live on YouTube. Time to get ready for your day with the morning warm-up with Trey Lyle and Ty Tracy.
7:03 on this Thursday, June 19th. Welcome to the morning warm-up. I'm Trey Lyle. Your name is Ed?
I've been gone for a while.
Ed is your name?
It is.
Okay. Good to meet you. Yes, Ed Lane filling in for you were the fourth option, which I'm also the fourth option for your show now that we've hired like 600 interns. But they all have Ty is at his cousin's wedding he's a part of. Then we got Philip and TJ both having, work obligations. So
real job obligations.
So I sent feelers out to a couple people. I was just gonna do like a special co-host, which that person's not even here yet. So and we're getting inside baseball before he gets in case you missed it. But I texted him, and then I was like, okay, I'll text Ed too at the same time because I didn't want you to have to come in. You're not having a show today. I didn't want you to have to come in early in the morning. You have young children, and it's the summertime, and and you're like you still did it. You stepped up. I appreciate it. So. Good morning, Ed. Hope you're doing well.
Good morning, Trey. I'm actually usually up this morning. I get up early to go work out and then get the kids ready, take them to school or in this case, camp. And now I just pivoted. My wife's heading out of town, so she'll be gone for the weekend. So it's going to be an adventure anyway.
So good news. We should be good for tomorrow. I think, knock on wood. But we should be good for tomorrow.
If you need me tomorrow, you might have two unexpected almost 7-year-old guests running around here.
I think Philip. So Philip had today. We're getting just inside baseball till we talk about a lot of money exchanging hands. Philip was supposed to today, but his work shifted his shift, which say that 3 times fast. And so the last minute thing. So all right, well, let's get to it in case you missed it.
Keeping up with sports 24/7 takes some serious effort, especially when you're sleeping. Don't worry, the morning warm-up stays alert around the clock. Now here is everything you missed last night.
Everything you missed last night, starting with yesterday afternoon, and I'm going to even tie it somewhat local, still a national headline. The bus, Shams Charania dropped I felt like a nuclear bomb yesterday, which I probably shouldn't use that reference given what's going on. Listen to WIQO for that. Why that might be not the best reference, but
a sports version.
It's that big, especially if you look at the price tag. The Bus family is entering into an agreement to sell majority ownership of the Los Angeles Lakers to Mark Walter for a franchise valuation of approximately $10 billion. Yep, I said that with a B. That's $1 billion. So he's not actually buying it for $10 billion. That's the valuation because they're keeping, I think, 15%. So it's like, so I think he's gonna get like 2/3 of it, which is like probably be like $6.6 billion at the end of the day. Which the most important part for the Lakers is it's still more than what the Celtics just sold for, and that ultimately is the big thing. But the Bus family will keep a minority stake. Apparently, Jeannie Buss will remain the governor of the team. I'll believe it when I see it. Maybe because Mark Walter was already a part owner of the team. He owned like 27%, I want to say, of the team. And I don't know. That's legal mumbo jumbo but the fact this team sold, like, this was higher than the Forbes evaluation of the team. Which it's the Lakers. Like, they're like, this is as if the Yankees just got sold. Like that, it's the same vibe because the Steinbrenner family runs the Yankees, controls the Yankees, and it's kind of their only thing. Whereas with the Buss family, it was the same thing. And in the NBA, you need a lot. It's kind of like the NFL. You need a lot of cash, whereas the Buss family didn't have the cash to necessarily spend as time went on in the NBA. Whether it's not just with the roster construction, it's with the infrastructure and the scouting department and the coaching staffs and so on and so forth. Now, you ask yourself, TWG Global, that seems like an interesting organization, owns multiple sports teams, owns the Dodgers, for example, owns Chelsea, for example, owns the Los Angeles Sparks.
Chelsea, the football club.
Yes. Owns the Professional Women's Hockey League, but they're also, almost called you tie, Ed, almost Ed, they also own TWG Motorsports, which owns the Cadillac F1 team and Andretti and IndyCar. And most importantly, Ed, there was this team in NASCAR over the past couple of years that has just all of a sudden decided to spend a lot of money, trying to take themselves from the bottom tier to a top tier. And it seems they have a young driver that they're trying to develop and keep. Do you want to guess what team that is?
Is that Spire?
That is correct. Do you know who owns Spire Motorsports or part of Spire Motorsports?
Who?
TWG.
TWG.
Yes.
They own that too?
Yes. So
they are very well diversified.
So my point being, and if you maybe want to listen to the latest episode of the Bring the Heat, which may be out later today and tonight, I bring this up because Caleb Barnes and I recorded when this news broke, and I, in my creative ways, because it was the only thought that was in my head, I had to tie it to NASCAR somehow. I suspect with this deal, we can talk more about the deal in a second, that Carson Hocevar, despite the fact he lost $50,000, which we talked about yesterday, might be sticking around there for a long time because, oh boy, it appears they can afford him based off of the fact that the guy running or owns the team has a $6.1 billion evaluation in terms of his personal finances and owns two of the top 6 most iconic franchises in American sports because he owns the Dodgers and he owns the Lakers. It's pretty good.
That's a huge amount. And obviously, NBA owners are very pleased with the fact that $10 billion is essentially the valuation
of the Lakers
now. I'll tell you who else is really pleased. They're not going to get sold anytime soon, but the NFL, because the Dallas Cowboys have been rumored to be about $10 billion in value, and the top of the NFL is ahead of the top of the NBA. Don't get me wrong, Cowboys, Lakers, they're as iconic as it gets in terms of franchise values. But the Dallas Cowboys, who will stick in the Jones family, when Jerry Jones passes away, they'll go to Stephen Jones, who's already actively involved in football decision-making, and Charlotte Jones Anderson, his daughter, who is involved in a lot of the business operations.
My girlfriend watches their show, the cheerleader show, against my multiple objections.
Well, don't worry. You'll get to watch your version when Netflix comes out with the Dallas Cowboys documentary, which hopefully will have all the salacious details.
I will not. I no.
No, you should watch it. It has all the salacious details.
I stand on principle. Well, we'll hope. But my assumption based off the fact that, I think Jerry will probably have a stake in it. So I'm assuming it will be very similar. I think Jerry was one of the few people in this world that watched the Patriots Apple documentary and was like, this is great. This looks great because it proves the owner has the most say in figuring out how to build a dynasty. And I think Jerry's going to be like, see, I did it. It was me. Not this Jimmy Johnson guy. Well, it was me.
That is very true.
Without Jimmy Johnson's players, we would have 0 Super Bowls. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, the Barry Switzer one was basically Jimmy Johnson.
Exactly. That's why I said players, not like Jimmy Johnson as the head coach, because Switzer actually did win one.
Yes, very true. And there are other examples of that are out there in terms of writing coaches. But the point I guess I'm trying to make is the NFL is loving this news that the Lakers being pegged at $10 billion in valuation. The idea of Jeannie Buss staying on as governor, which first of all, what the hell does that mean? Part of my
So
language.
the
I
NBA.
hate how they don't use owners. They don't own the players. I get the whole like slave owning connotation of back in the day.
I really don't care. If
You don't own the players.
It's
you
a
own
private.
the team.
It's
the
a
business.
It's a private league. You want to call yourself a governor? I do not. Like I legitimately do, because they do governance in terms of like they all meet together and they vote on the rules and stuff. So you theoretically you have some governance over, like, it still fits. I really like it. If anyone really is like, I'm not going to watch the NBA anymore because they changed from owner to governor, then you really need to change. Like, really need to check yourself. Like, just who? Like, it's.
I detest the term governor, and it hasn't changed my reading interests.
Exactly, and you're not like a massive NBA fan. Like, I watch basketball probably more than you do. And that's not a like.
No, it's
NBA
true.
basketball.
I 100%
But
say that.
You mentioned that. Number one, Dallas Cowboys, $10 billion. I'm assuming when Forms breaks this list out that the number 2 team will change. It's the Golden State Warriors at $8.8 billion.
Yeah, that's
and then it's the Rams, Yankees, Knicks, Patriots, Giants, Lakers, Jets, 49ers, Raiders. Hey, and the Eagles are tied with Real Madrid for 12. But by the way, Washington Commanders $6.3 billion. Their evaluation is $6.3 billion is because that's what they were sold for. They were sold for what, 6.6? Because the Celtics went for 6.1, and now the Lakers went for $10 billion. That's my favorite part about this is it had to be. It was one after the Celtics, and two, it was way. I think they picked the 10 billion number because I think the sale, like the actual like money exchanging hands, air quotes around the money exchanging hands, because it's always weird how they do it, is probably closer to that Celtics number. But they're like, oh my god, we could look like we are gigantically more value than the Celtics, which obviously Lakers, Celtics, the Buss family hates the Celtics hate the Lakers. Like I think that was a big part of the, that big $10 billion number that was shared.
I'm sure it is. And it's an iconic number. I mean, this is great news for the NBA.
This is if the Yankees or the Cowboys got sold. This is that is the same. Like, I think the better comparison. Well, but both are also like kind of. It's kind of weird how mom and pop shopish the like 3 biggest franchises in the world in American sports are, like, in terms of like
Lakers, Yankees, and Cowboys.
Yes, because the Steinbrenners this is like all the Steinbrenners have is the Yankees, and obviously Jerry Jones made his money through oil. But like all that Jerry Jones does, Jerry Jones bought the Cowboys to run the Cowboys, and the Buss family bought the Lakers, and all they do is run the Lakers. Like, a big part of why the Lakers might be selling is that the Buss family, in terms of cash, the keyword is cash, where they can spend on the margins, is not as good. It's why Steve Ballmer got to have so much success with the Clippers. He has so much more money. He was like, he could build an arena. He could get the best executives. He could get the best support staff. And yes, you're going out there, but the Lakers still got stars. They got Kobe, LeBron, whatever, but they couldn't invest in certain infrastructure that just, with the way the hard cap is in the NBA, it's like the NFL now, where the NFL, you have to win so much on the margins in the NFL in terms of outside stuff. That's why Philadelphia is so good, because Philadelphia is heavily invested in scouting and analytics and training and X, Y, and Z. That's why they are so, it's the same thing with Kansas City, the same thing with these, Baltimore.
The Rams are in that game.
The Rams are a really good example of it. And you look at what happened with the Dodgers. The Dodgers were in the same place before this group bought it. And what did they go out to do? They didn't just go out and get Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman. They also went and got the best GM in baseball from the Rays. And they invested in their infrastructure. And they had one of the better farm systems. And they took the better farm system and built the team they have now, which is one of the best baseball teams that's ever been assembled. So it's a big day in sports, like a very historic day in all of sports. And it definitely is something to keep an eye on. Other headlines from yesterday, as you heard right here on VTRN Sports last night and yesterday, the Men's College World Series, the final is set as LSU wins 6-5 as they walk it off in a game, and I don't know if you listened to it or saw the ending. You got to feel a little bit for Arkansas because they had it right there. The final 3 at bats of this game, they had a double play that they could have got, but the shortstop instead goes to third. So you have runners at first and second. They're down 2. Next at bat, guy hits it. His name is Hernandez, hits it straight to the left fielder. Left fielder takes a bad angle and stumbles. The ball gets past him. Tie game. Next at bat, Jones hits a single straight, but it hits the second baseman's glove. And it literally was like everything that could go wrong in that bottom of the ninth inning for Arkansas did. They fall 6-5. LSU heads to the national championship where they'll take on Coastal. Where Coastal dominated Louisville yesterday, 11-3. And I think what will be a fun championship series. Obviously, LSU will be the favorite because they have the SEC team, but don't count out Coastal. They have championship DNA, whether it's their head coach who was an assistant on their national champion team, and I think they're probably one of the hottest teams we've seen going to a national championship game. They've won 26 games in a row, and it's weird to say when you get somehow you get a Sun Belt versus SEC national championship game, and it could really go either way.
It could. LSU, the betting favorite, deservedly so, but I wouldn't write off Coastal. Are you rooting for Coastal if you're not an SEC fan? And I say this somewhat because I know Liberty fans hate Coastal, and JMU's in the same conference that Coastal's in the Sun Belt, but it's the chance to show that if you're a smaller school, particularly in sports like softball and baseball, where there's a little bit of variance, and if you have the right pitching, it can carry you. But there's a chance to win a national title versus other sports where it's even more bought than before.
So I know someone who is rooting for Coastal and has been may or may not have sent me a few texts as the time has gone on as they keep advancing, and that is one Mike Neff,
colleague of our guest later.
Yeah. So well, if he wakes up, he was supposed to be here by now with Michael Massie, but we'll see. But yeah, Mike Neff, 20 has been texting me. He said Coastal was going to make the final. He said, or make the College World Series. He said he thinks they have a real shot at making the final, and they did. And being one of the hottest teams helps, and being a team that has been consistently good and has won a national championship. Obviously, LSU last time they were there had Dylan Cruz, who's now with the Nationals. Obviously, the face of that team was Paul Skeens, who is one of the best pitchers in all of baseball now for the Pirates, and this was crazy to think this was 3 years ago. And yeah, I think it's gonna be an interesting final. I'd probably pick LSU, but I would love to see Coastal get it done because, again, small school. Like I have now changed. I think I was used to be of the belief that any school best chance to win the national championship would be basketball, but I think it's actually going to be baseball because it's now been proven more over time that these smaller schools can win a baseball national championship more than a basketball national championship. So, like, if I'm Liberty, I think I'm more likely to win a national championship in baseball. And we'll get to Virginia Tech in a second. They made a coaching change, or it appears they have their pitching coach. But I think because the variance in college baseball, it's also the hardest to win. You could argue because the variance is so much wider, whereas like in basketball, if you have like one really good player, it could take you very far because it's 5 people on the court, whereas your bullpen is like 18 to 22-year-olds, and your bullpen is so important, yet it could be so hit or miss.
Football is the easy top-down in terms of like resources correlating to success because you just have to have a volume of players.
Yeah.
With injuries and attrition.
You can find so many players in the margins in college baseball and some degree basketball, but I think even in baseball, and they have the shift, so you can use analytics a lot more in college baseball now, which they should get rid of the shift in college baseball, but that's different.
Okay, so for basketball, though, top scorers, even if you're undersized, are transferring up sooner. So if you have a top scorer as a sophomore or junior, the odds are they're going to transfer up in some capacity. So it's harder to retain them over a period of time. I agree with you on baseball. I'll throw one more out there, and it's in the same vein because Texas Tech proved it with softball. Do you put softball in that category where if you can buy the right arm like Texas Tech did, voila, you might be in the championship.
Yeah, I was just thinking of the three big sports. But yeah, softball, absolutely. If you want to throw softball in, then absolutely. Because let's go back. Like, if you want to throw in women's basketball, well, Iowa had maybe the greatest female college basketball player we've ever seen, and I'm putting a maybe in there because we talked about her yesterday. Like Cheryl Miller lost in that conversation, and you throw in Candace Parker, I think Breonna Stewart. Really, in fact, she won four national championships.
4 national titles. Diana Taurasi. I mean, there's a number of women's basketball.
But my point being, Caitlin, if you made an all-time starting five of female college basketball players, I think she's your starting point guard. It's like her or Sue Bird or Dawn Staley. But my point being, one of the top players of all time, and the farthest they could get Iowa is the national championship game, because at South Carolina or LSU had an overwhelming advantage in talent. Now, I think the LSU win was more because Iowa was so tired from beating USC. It was you got to beat Goliath twice that they just couldn't do it. Whereas in college baseball, you have a really good bullpen. You can go really far. Or you just get hot at the right time, like Coastal Carolina did, or Murray State did as a 4 seed. You can get to the dance, and then once you're in the dance, you get hot again, you easily can win the national championship. By the way, the most important competition this weekend, LSU is already clearly dominated, as they are at 23,651 Jello shots bought at Rocco's, $5 a piece. Do the math there. But obviously, again, I only bring this up because it does go to charity. It goes to food banks, which, by the way, LSU set the record last time was 68,000. But that was because my favorite story is the guy who owns Raising Cane's just came in and was like, all right, we're beating this record, and bought, I think he donated I don't know, whatever it was to get to 68,000 Jello shots. I know Paul Skeens and Libby Dunn bought a bunch. So there you have it. All the updates from the College World Series, which you can catch the final of it starting Saturday right here on VTR in Sports. Kendall Rogers, who breaks all the big baseball news in terms of coaching from D1 baseball, is reporting that Doug Wiley from Xavier is now going to become Virginia Tech baseball pitching coach. If you look at Xavier, they've been a really solid program out of the Big East, made multiple College World or regional tournaments or NCAA tournaments. I believe when Virginia Tech hosted, Xavier was in it. Was in the regional, if I'm not mistaken.
Was that Oklahoma year as well?
Yeah, I think it was Oklahoma, Xavier, Virginia Tech, and Wright State were the 4 teams, if I'm not mistaken, off the top of my head. Might have been Gonzaga, but my point being, Xavier has produced good pitching. A change just had to be made. I think John Sheff's done a really good job considering where he picked up this program, and offensively, they've been one of the best teams in the country. Their pitching has just constantly held them back. It has resulted in their tailspin each year. So this is the first change that had to be done. Speaking of dollars changing hands, Ed, did you know the Tampa Bay Rays also got sold yesterday?
They did. Or that crept under the radar with the Lakers news.
So the Rays are in advanced talks to sell the club to a group led by Jacksonville home builder Patrick Zalupski, Zalupski. Zalupski, that might be it. And basically, they've signed a letter of intent. Now, you can take a wild guess and say it's not anywhere close to where the Lakers are. It's $1.7 billion. I
was going to say 1/10 of it. We're not far off.
But according to Sportico, that it's going to be roughly $1.7 billion. Now, I believe the Rays have restructured their agreement with Tampa Bay to stay in Tampa. They're going to rebuild Tropicana Field. But if you are a Rays fan, seeing someone not in Tampa buy the Tampa Bay Rays does kind of sound the alarm bells. Now, it's someone still in Florida. If it was, let's say, similar to what happened with the Seattle Supersonics and the Oklahoma City Thunder, where an Oklahoman bought the team, it was like, all right, they're moving to Oklahoma. Whereas here, it's like a guy still in Florida. I don't know if he's going to basically invest all that money to move them to Jacksonville unless Jacksonville wants to pay them to build a team in Jacksonville. So that should feel good about the Rays staying in Tampa. Speaking as such, I have ridden in a car with Ed Lane. He likes to exceed some speed limits sometimes. He likes to live in the fast lane.
Sometimes.
Someone who was in the fast lane yesterday, even though there was no fast lane, was Shador Sanders, as he was cited by police early Tuesday morning for driving 101 miles per hour, according to police records. An officer stopped him in Strongville, Ohio, as he was 41 miles per hour over the speed limit in his black Dodge TRX truck, according to reports. Yeah, so he's what, 24, 23? I really don't think this is much of a story. He's got to pay like a $250 fine. Congratulations, Shador. I mean, cool.
My one thought on this is it fits the lack of awareness image around like Shador and his family.
I've gotten a speeding ticket. I really just don't.
101 is a lot in a zone. Like, it's not like you're going 80 and a 60. May or may not have had that happen before. Word to the wise who are going down to Atlanta for South Carolina, Virginia Tech. When you go from Georgia to South Carolina, the speed limit drops and you can't really see the sign of where it drops. And so, voila, you might be going 80 and a 55 instead of a 70, and it looks a lot worse. Just be mindful of the speed limit out there if you're Shador Sanders or anybody else.
That's a good one. Don't go in the, you can go in the fast lane, but make sure it's the speed limit in the fast lane.
Correct.
So, all right. One final headline before we got to go to break. Dale Earnhardt Jr. Or let me rephrase this. Marty Lindley, who's the crew chief for Connor Zilic, the number 88 for the Xfinity Series team, is having to serve a one-race suspension because two lug nuts were loose at their last Xfinity race in Nashville. And I'm going to go to the roster portal now here at NASCAR, see their replacement crew chief, and it says Ralph Dale Earnhardt Jr. Huh. Yeah, so I think this is really cool. Dale Earnhardt Jr. filling in as crew chief this weekend in the Xfinity Series at Pocono for Connor Zilic. This is, I think this just ends up being like just a cool thing. Now he easily could win this race because he has Connor Zilic, but at the end of the day, I think there's enough engineers with JRM that, Dale will be like, and Dale's not going to like half, he's going to go all in. He's going to do the right research, but I don't think, I think Dale's going to do a pretty, 4 tires and fuel kind of job. And they're going to, he hates saving gas, and typically Pocono's a fuel saving race. So it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. But I'm excited to see it.
I like it more because Dale Jr. just being involved, he clearly has a passion and has opinions on this. I will throw this out there. As much of an owner as he is with opinions, he seems to give his drivers the opportunity to take ownership of their decisions, good or bad.
Yeah. I tend to. I mean, he's not afraid to be critical of them too. I just think this is he jokingly, I think, said last year that he would want to do this, and this is fun. This is something that should be celebrated, and I don't think anyone's going to complain. Like, I think people would complain if like 2311 made an Xfinity team and Denny Hamlin decided to put himself as crew chief. But again, I think with these big teams, even at the Xfinity level, they have enough engineers and other people where Dale was making quote unquote the pit call, but not making the pit call. Like, I'm going to spoil some things for NASCAR fans that I've learned. When a crew chief at least in Cup gets suspended, they're not actually really suspended. They're just not at the track. They sit in a war room where they can communicate with everyone and basically make the same kind of calls that they're going to make. Just the other guy's telling the driver it. So it's not too nuts. All right, Ed, the first time you get to get put in the hot seat. We're going to have Today in Sports History next here on the morning warm-up as well as a little bit later on the show, David Cunningham, TechSideline.com joins us, talk about the latest additions for Hokies basketball and what the offseason will look like for football next here on the Morning Warm-Up.
Get more at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier used car dealer serving Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas for over 50 years. With more selection, more value, and more finance options. Plus, your trade is worth more. Get the best selection with more Hondas, more Hyundais, all your favorite makes and models. Over 900 used vehicles in stock now. That's way more than any other dealer in the area. Volume selling means volume pricing, and we've got the volume, all in one location on the Motor Mile. The Used Car Superstore is your one stop for cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Many have miles in the teens, remaining factory warranties, and some are even local one-owner vehicles. Plus, Sheeler owns the finance company. Getting approved for credit is easy on the Motor Mile with financing options for every budget. We finance your future, not your past. You're a valued customer and not just a number on the Motor Mile. Get more with straightforward pricing and more inventory arriving daily. Over 900 vehicles on the lot ready to choose from. The Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile. I-81 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
Car insurance rates are rising rapidly. That's no secret. It's because the cost of medical care for those who are injured and the repair and replacement cost of damaged vehicles is skyrocketing. But what can you do about it? Hi, this is Judd Gardner with Gardner Insurance Solutions in Lynchburg. We've been helping Central Virginia drivers purchase the coverage they need at affordable prices since 1993. Talk with us before you pay again. We represent numerous companies and have many cost-saving strategies. Gardner Insurance Solutions, 434-316-5433.
When you're a discerning gun owner, you value knowledge and honesty. That's what you'll get at Big Boys Guns. With over a decade serving Central and Southwest Virginia, we make the complex easy. Our team experience can help with firearm transfers and 100% electronic process for silencer ownership that is done in-house. And when you know firearms, you know it's honest. That's why we offer accurate appraisals and low prices. Looking to buy, sell, or trade? We make it easy at Big Boys Guns on Route 460 in Blue Ridge.
Have you looked at your home's exterior lately? Do you see faded siding, paint peeling, and wood rotting? Windows that are impossible to open and close and gutters falling off? Call Collins Siding and Windows to transform your home's exterior and save you money on energy costs. Dreaming of a new porch or sunroom? Collins can do that too. Since 1989, Collins Siding and Windows has been transforming homes in Central Virginia. Roofs, windows, siding, gutters, porches, decks, and sunrooms. They can do it all. Call Collins Siding and Windows today, 434-525-6307.
Put some fun into your lunch or dinner. Come to Kodo Japanese for the show with fun hibachi-style Japanese prepared in front of you. Looking for calmer fun? Kodo Japanese serves Lynchburg's most delicious sushi, including the famed Vol crab rolls, plus drinks including specials on mimosas for brunch every Saturday and Sunday from noon to 3. Speaking of fun, everyone gets a free birthday dinner at Kodo, so put the fun into your meal at Kodo Japanese, Wards Road in Lynchburg.
Head to lynchburg-hillcats.com to lock in your ticket for the Lynchburg Hillcats this season. Now here's VTR in Sports.
Good morning. We are just getting your day started here on VTRN Sports with the morning warm-up. Stay connected with the show at Trey Lyle VT and Ty Tracy 90 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Listen wherever you are with the VTRN Sports app or watch the show live on YouTube at youtube.com/VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, back to the morning warm-up.
Welcome back to the morning warm-up here, 7:36 on this Thursday, June 19th. Welcome to the morning warm-up. I'm Trey Lyle. That's Ed Lane filling in for Ty Tracy. I guess, and technically Philip, who was supposed to be here, but, you know, work obligations happen. Philip, sitting at a record. So, Ed, you have a chance. Ties at 112-33, which is really good. But you can do better than Philip, who's 39-40. You're not getting that many, but if you can go over 500 today, you should feel proud of yourself as we get to today in sports history.
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James.
Many doubted we'd ever see it. But here it is. The return to glory.
It's time for Today in Sports History.
Seconds left in the game. You believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
going to go length of the court with Archie Diacono. 3 seconds at midcourt. Jenkins gives it to Jenkins for the championship.
Let's hear what Ty really knows about what happened on this day in sports history.
All right. We're starting in 1867. Ruthless, written by J. Gilpatrick, won the inaugural This at Jerome Park in the Bronx.
Was this the Belmont Stakes?
That is correct.
They hold it in the Bronx?
Yes.
I know it's on Long Island now.
Yeah. Well, it's at, because, you have obviously Kentucky for the Kentucky Derby. Then you have Baltimore for the next one. And then the Belmont. What is that? What is the middle one called?
The Preakness.
Preakness. That's the word. Yes. That's in Baltimore because I always see the signs for it when I was in Baltimore. And then the Belmont in New York. There we go. All right. There we go. We're not going to go that far for the next one. Okay. I promise. We're going to only go to 1973. These two men both recorded their 2000th major league hit. I will give you credit if you get one of these right on this date. One was a single and a 4-0 win over the Giants, whereas the other guy hit a home run and a 3-0 win over the Atlanta Braves. One is a baseball guy that is has been in the headlines recently.
Pete Rose?
Correct.
Is Willie Stargell the other one?
Oh, you were close. It's Willie Davis.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
so I'll give you credit.
I
knew you were.
I get half credit. It wasn't the right person.
It was Willie Davis. That was pretty good. All right, we're going to 1986 now. This man, who was the second pick in the NBA draft 2 days before, died of a heart attack induced by cocaine use.
Oh, Len Bias.
Yeah, one of the biggest what ifs in the history of basketball. But there we have it. Yes, so Len Bias died on this date in 1986.
By the
way,
way,
my numbers flipped.
By the way, I know one of his college teammates, and the college teammate from Maryland said, and it's not hard to figure out if you look at where I used to work and where this guy might be, but the college teammate said that they had no idea that, cocaine was part of the lexicon or consideration for Len Bias, which is just tragic.
Yep. All right, we had two more. We're going to 2006, where Cam Ward, not the quarterback, stopped nearly everything to give this team their first Stanley Cup title with a 3-1 victory over, ironically, the Edmonton Oilers in Game 7.
Was that the Carolina Hurricanes?
That was correct. All right.
Cha-ching.
So I have two today in sports history sounders, and I picked the one for this reason, because on this date in 2016, the most improbable comeback in NBA history occurred when what happened?
It's in our intro, isn't it?
Yes, that's why I played it.
LeBron James blocked the shot.
And
Golden State lost Game 7 at home as LeBron gave Cleveland their first and since then only championship of this century.
Yes. And my assumption is the Cavs are pretty decent, but that might stick. But yes, the Cavs came back from 3-1 down to win the NBA title, which some people were saying, like, this is the best finals in like 20 years. And I'm like, did y'all not remember 2016? Which they were not many great games. But the fact that series occurred, like, that is, to me, the best finals in NBA history, just because it's the most, like, improbable finals. Because it's not just the fact they came back from 3-1 down. It's the fact that the Warriors were 73-9. They were the defending champions. And then you have LeBron James, who is...
Cleveland was clearly not a talented team.
At least
compared to Golden State.
Yeah. I mean, and then like, Golden State was like, let's just make it even harder.
The one where Miami beat the Spurs, not the next year where the Spurs blew them out. 2013. I thought was great, but it wasn't improbable because both those teams, as they showed by rematching the next year,
were really good.
Were really good, whereas this was kind of LeBron carrying Cleveland.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And then and Kyrie had 40.
And this one was trending in that direction, if I can interject on the current finals. But the Tyrese Halliburton injury, and I if he goes tonight, I wonder if he's 100%. And I think he's going to play tonight. I think they'll be cautious, though, because calf injuries often lead to Achilles. And we saw that with Jason Tatum, where if you pop your Achilles this late, you're basically out the entire next year, too.
Well, if you pop your Achilles at all during the season, you're basically out the next season, unless it's like training camp.
Correct. So there will be a level of caution. I think this series was trending in that direction, but I think Indiana's running out of gas.
Yeah, and I thought this would be a 5-game series. I credit Indiana for winning game 1 and making it a 6-game series, but I hope for a game 7. They've been a bunch of fun games, and it's gonna probably cap off tonight with the Thunder winning the NBA title. All right, now we're gonna talk some more Virginia Tech Hokies with the man, the myth, the legend.
Can I get one more this day in history? Because it happened on this day in history, 25 years ago to the day. One of the most thrilling and ironic finishes in NASCAR history. Mayfield nudges Dale Earnhardt out of the way. June 19th, 2000 at Pocono, as my prim and proper grandmother watched in horror as I laughed and was amused because Jeremy Mayfield pumped his fist and Dale Earnhardt Jr. said, "You finished in first."
I was going to say, I'm glad I didn't ask you that because then you would have been trapped. Like you would have gotten that really. I can't give you easy ones. So that would have been way too easy. But I almost thought you were going to say, well, tomorrow is a big day for you in your life. But I'll let you. So happy early anniversary, by the way.
11. Thank you.
So shout out to that. And I only knew that because it popped up on my Facebook the other day. So that's the only reason why I knew that. All right. When we come back here, David Cunningham joins us, techsideline.com, talking Hokies next here on the Morning Warm Up.
Car insurance rates are rising rapidly. That's no secret. It's because the cost of medical care for those who are injured and the repair and replacement cost of damaged vehicles is skyrocketing. But what can you do about it? Hi, this is Judd Gardner with Gardner Insurance Solutions in Lynchburg. We've been helping Central Virginia drivers purchase the coverage they need at affordable prices since 1993. Talk with us before you pay again. We represent numerous companies and have many cost-saving strategies. Gardner Insurance Solutions, 434-316-5433.
Big Boys Guns can thankfully say we serve Central and Southwest Virginia as we've done for over a decade. We've learned some people know exactly what they want, while some prefer a helping hand. That's why our staff won't judge your knowledge. We're just excited to greet you and help you in finding that perfect firearm or accessory, because everyone is at a different stage of responsible gun ownership. Our advice is free, and we even have concealed carry classes. When you're ready for responsible gun ownership, come see us. Big Boys Guns on Route 460 in Blue Ridge.
We're here with Colt from We Fix Stupid Computers. Colt, to go along with your residential or individual walk-in services that you offer, you also do a lot of business IT support. How about you discuss that, and what specifically do you do to help businesses in the area?
We see a lot of that. Small to medium-sized businesses, they still have their IT projects. They still need resources to help them within their office and for remote users. And so we'll step in and fill in the gap where we do a lot of projects for them, help them manage their resources, their budgets, and get their technology under control.
Colt, how can these people reach out to you to assess their IT needs?
Call us. Our number is 434-525-8590. Our website, wefixstupidcomputers.com. We're on Facebook. And our office is here locally, 14690 Forest Road, right next to Scott's Cabinet on 221.
Come experience history as End Station Theater Company at Randolph College hosts the inaugural Central Virginia Fringe Festival. The Fringe will be a week-long community celebration centered around theatrical works and performances. Running June 14th through the 21st, 16 community groups will be performing 18 productions over 7 days, culminating in the world premiere of End Station original play, Whirlwind. For tickets and information, visit endstationtheater.org.
Few things are more majestic than nature, as long as it's outside your house. Unfortunately, when wildlife gets inside your chimney, it leads to problems for your chimney and your house. Prevent this problem with Black Goose Chimney Service. They provide one-time solutions to ensure the wildlife stays outside your home. And if you've had wildlife inside your house, Black Goose Chimney Service can deal with the aftermath and make sure they don't return. Call Black Goose Chimney Service and visit them at blackgoose.net.
This summer, you could go to the pool over and over and over. Or you could scuba dive in an aquarium, a lake, or the ocean for some of the most majestic views imaginable. I'm Chuck with AquaTrek Adventures. Our Try Scuba classes are a perfect way to help you decide if you're ready for scuba certification. When you are, we have classes that can get you certified in just a few days. Your next adventure awaits at Aquatrack Adventures, 30 Mill Lane in Salem, and online at aquatrackadventures.com.
Good morning. We are just getting your day started here on VTRN Sports with the morning warm-up. Stay connected at Trey Lyle VT and Ty Tracy 90 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Listen wherever you are with the VTRN Sports app or watch the show live on YouTube at youtube.com/VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, back to the morning warm-up.
So something else that happened in NASCAR on this date, as it is 7:48 on this Thursday, June 19th, was Winston was replaced by Nextel as the Cup title sponsor for the NASCAR Cup Series, which obviously became Sprint and then became Monster, and now is a group of sponsors.
Now it's just the Cup Series.
Yeah, with
4-ish presenting
I think it's
sponsors.
3 now. 3 like title sponsors is exactly what it is. It's like, but it's more money for them. But that happened on this date in NASCAR history. So
that kind of tugs at the heartstrings of a lot of NASCAR fans.
the nostalgia pop. I think for me, so like, did I ever go to a Winston Cup Series race? I don't think so. I think my first one was Nextel. I attended, like physically attended. Maybe I was a baby and I went to a Winston, but like,
not that you remember.
Yeah, I think I maybe I thought. I also think Winston was like here, like it was not 03, it was like 06 when the flip happened, but it was 03. But yeah, so there you have it.
I definitely went to them. Well, the first race I ever went to was Dale Earnhardt Sr., RIP, his last Martinsville race, 2000 fall.
That was your first race?
First NASCAR race.
Got it.
He finished 5th. Tony Stewart won.
Mine was May 15th. I think it had to be May 15th, 2004. Dale Jr. wins at Richmond. It was my birthday party.
That's a pretty cool birthday party.
It was, especially with me and my little Dale Jr. shirt. Well, speaking of Earnhardt, as we were unable to connect with David Cunningham, hopefully maybe we'll get him on either by the end of the show or by tomorrow. Did you finish the Earnhardt doc?
No, we are near the end of the first
episode.
First episode.
Okay, because you only can watch in like 10-minute increments.
Oh, this is watching with almost 7-year-old twin boys. It is start, stop, start, stop, start.
So
stop.
I just decided, was it Monday? I think it was Monday and Tuesday. I was like, all right, I'm just going to sit down and watch it. Force myself to watch it, which force myself is like probably the wrong way to do it. But like I had a couple of like, I finally sat down and watched it. I typically with this stuff, like I probably won't watch full speed till the summer. I'm really bad at like watching it right away. Unless it's like a show that I have binged before, like The Bear, for example. Like I'll watch it right when it comes out because I've watched the episodes of The Bear already. I'm typically a binge watcher. I don't like waiting. Sorry, I'm a very impatient person sometimes, but I thought it was really good. I thought like it was weird how, and this is a fact, like his life and his dad's life paralleled each other in terms of, you know, Dale Jr. was the similar age when Ralph died, or that Dale was when Ralph died, and how like the relationship.
Dale Sr.'s age when Ralph died is similar to Dale Jr.'s age when the Intimidator died.
Yes. And then how the relationship dynamic with Kelly and Dale Jr. and how
versus Dale and Ralph, the father's child.
How it was kind of similar. Like Dale was always seeking Ralph's approval. Dale Jr. was always seeking Dale Sr.'s approval, and so on and so forth. So I would say this, like sometimes you watch a documentary and like, if you're not a fan of that sport, you don't need to watch it. If you're not even a fan of NASCAR, it tells more about the family dynamics within the Earnhardt family, which is one of the iconic families in the sport. And I bet you could pick that up already within the first 20 minutes of watching it. It picks up more on the dynamics of the Earnhardt family and why Dale was Dale and how it affected his family members, i.e., Dale Jr. and Kelly, the most, and how it affected his relationships with friends and that sort of thing, his driving and his career. Another one that's like this. Now, this is a complete opposite of a human being because I don't think Dale Earnhardt is a bad person. Was the Mr. McMahon documentary that Netflix put together with Bill Simmons, which even if you're not a wrestling fan, you should watch it. Like, it's really, and that includes way more content of Vince McMahon, because he was alive, is still alive, face to camera. But it tells the history of wrestling and how it developed. But it also tells like more about why Vince is this person and how intertwined wrestling was to actually the world and pop culture. And even if you weren't a wrestling fan, like a pro wrestling fan, you would learn a lot about like the dynamics. And it's a really good documentary. And it's another one I compare to. Again, to preface this, for anyone who wants to come at me like Vince McMahon is a terrible human being and Dale Earnhardt is not, I agree with you 100%. Because just Google Vince McMahon, you'll understand why. That's all I say on that. But yeah, I think the Earnhardt doc, and I think it was the fact that one, a certain person wasn't involved in the project, which she gets mentioned by name. I don't think it's really put down, but does get mentioned throughout the entire documentary. And it was done by Dale Jr. and it was Dale Jr. had heavy influence on it, and Dale Jr. is someone who is not only, that was his dad, but he's a NASCAR historian, and he kind of put it in the right context, is a better way to put it. And I think he showed the good sides and the bad sides of Dale, and I just thought it was really well done.
I have not gotten to the end of it.
I'm trying not to spoil, like.
Well, so
it's weird. You can't spoil a documentary because it's not like you can't just Google like everything that's in it, right?
Well, you can, and like, yeah. So yesterday, I had a car repair that was supposed to take like an hour and a half, turned into 4.5 hours. So
that would have been your time, man. Break out the iPad, break out the
my
laptop.
wife and I are watching the Dale Senior documentary together, and I could easily watch it and just go back and watch with her because I'm so fascinated. But I read the Washington Post article that your colleague Tom Bowles linked at frontstretch.com last week when Tom was critiquing the Dale Jr. documentary.
Spoiler alert, he should be on the show tomorrow. I've been texting with Tom, so
it will be a great interview. The Washington Post article was fascinating because it touched on, like the documentary seems to be doing, the father-son dynamic. And if you will, I'm in my late 30s, 39. And a lot of people, myself included, grew up where your parents were kind of mirrors of their parents' generation, where it was more of a children are to be seen and not heard from. There's kids struggle for your parents' affection. My dad has gotten much more mellow. Maybe it's being a grandfather with my kids. Maybe it's looking in the mirror. My dad treats the I was WRONG like their curse word sometimes. And I think that generation did, which is why the whole Dale Senior dynamic in the documentary seems to be so fascinating, is just wanting the approval. You mentioned the other part, though, and I'll say her name because she's mentioned in this article, but the Teresa Earnhardt element. And people have their various opinions of her, but the fact that the Washington Post article mentions that Dale Jr. and Kelly Earnhardt hardly ever go to the gravesite. The mausoleum are not allowed to go to the mausoleum for their dad, and there are security cameras there, which is like, dude, I'm all for like protecting your private property, but why the hell would Dale Jr. want to steal anything? He's worth like $100 million. There is nothing he needs to steal from you.
Yeah. So like another two takeaways I had is like, I feel worst about the death. Like 3 of the big takeaways I had, the person I feel most sympathetic towards about the death was Kelly, because, and I won't say why, because it will spoil part of the story in there. And I don't want to do that for Ed. 2, I still to this day will never understand how Dale Jr. just could keep racing, because like in my head, I'm like, I don't know if I could, like, seeing that, being literally your dad dying in your rear view mirror and then going back there, especially I will always get chills from watching the 2001 Pepsi 400, especially now that I'm older and I can understand it more. And then the third thing was, I don't agree with how Teresa Earnhardt handled everything post his death, but I think I understood it more because in her mind, she got done like this idea. She was like, she thought Dale was a part of her, and they were this team, and they were supposed to build DEI to what it was in this image, and literally just like all fell in their lap. And for whatever reason, she did not want to hand it off to Kelly and Dale and have them help. And she wanted this control. And ultimately that was, I don't say her downfall, but like the downfall of DEI.
I can understand that.
You
I
like understand it. Yeah. You understand it, I think, a little bit more, but I don't agree with how she did it or what she did or how she's handled it, because she's really, become a villain, and it sucks for her, because that she shouldn't have to.
I understand.
She shouldn't have had to become this kind of black sheep of NASCAR.
I understand her reservations of coming out, because Teresa Earnhardt has essentially become the black sheep of NASCAR.
And she was never meant to be the face of this brand or whatever. Like, it was clear to me that the plan always was Dale, go from Dale Sr. to Dale Jr. and Kelly kind of run the team. And that just never happened. And highly recommended, even if you're not a NASCAR fan. Just go get that A to Z app. All right, that will do for today. We'll be back tomorrow. Fun show. Thanks so much for Ed for filling in. And we'll have another fun one tomorrow to wrap up Friday. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much for listening to the Morning Warm-Up on